ॐ अगजानन पद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदन्तं भक्तानामेकदन्तम् उपास्महे। नमो नमः। अथ कृदन्ताः तत्पूर्वं तिङन्ताः चर्च्यन्ते। कृदन्तानां कृते तु तिङन्तज्ञानं बहु आवश्यकं भवति। अतः तिङन्ताः अधुना आदौ चर्च्यन्ते। तिङन्ताः नाम किम्? तिङन्ताः नाम येषाम् अन्ते तिङ् इति प्रत्ययः अस्ति, ते तिङन्ताः। ज्ञातं वा? तिङ् इति प्रत्ययः इति कश्चन प्रत्ययः अस्ति। तिङ् इत्यस्य प्रत्ययस्य यस्य अन्त्यं भवति सः तिङ् अन्तः इति कथ्यते। दृश्यते वा एतत्? अस्तु। अत्र तिङन्तेषु आदौ धातुः इति कश्चन भागः अस्ति। धातुः नाम मूलपदं। सर्वेषामपि संस्कृतवाङ्मयपदानां मूलं धातुः अस्ति। धातोः कश्चन अर्थः भवति अथवा केचन अर्थाः भवन्ति। तस्य च पदित्वं भवति। आत्मनेपदी, परस्मैपदी, उभयपदी इति पदित्वं भवति। संख्या भवति। 10 गणाः सन्ति, अतः सीरियल ऑर्डर क्रमः भवेत् खलु। 10.3, 5.7 इत्यादिकं तत् संख्या तद्योत्यते। कर्मत्वम् अकर्मकं सकर्मकं द्विकर्मकं वा इति सः विषयः कर्मत्वं बोधयति। इट्त्वम् इट्त्वं नाम सेट्, अनिट्, वेट् इति त्रिधा विभक्तः विषयः सः। तत्रापि धातोः एतेपि जन्मना एव प्राप्ताः गुणाः। एवं जाति इव पदं, संख्या, अर्थः, कर्मत्वम्, इट्त्वम् इत्यादिकं धातोः एव सहजत्वेन एव प्राप्तानि। एतच्च धातुपाठे उल्लिखितं भवति। धातुपाठे अत्र संख्या 10 गणेषु कस्यचित् धातोः का संख्या इति दीयते। अपि च तस्य अर्थः, तस्य स्वरद्योतनेन इट्त्वं पदित्वं च ज्ञायते। तस्य कर्मत्वम् अर्थानुसारं ज्ञातव्यं भवति। तत्परम् एवं संस्कृते गणाः भवन्ति। 10 गणाः सन्ति। 10 गणेषु विकरणप्रत्यय विधानेन 10 गणेषु धातवः विभक्ताः भवन्ति। विकरण इति कश्चन प्रत्ययः। पुनः अत्र सर्वत्रापि संस्कृते प्रकृति प्रत्यय विभागः दृश्यते। The division of a dhatu or a root word, the or and the impurities, that is always present in Sanskrita. So we have seen what the dhatu, the ore is, the actual mineral is. So then what is the impurity which surrounds it? Or we can say what are the tags, what are the additional spices that we have to add to make the sambar of a word is pratyaya. Of those pratyayas, vikaranas are one such pratyayas. These are used along with the dhatus like spices, and they are used to derive kriya padani. They are used to derive specifically only verbs. So from a dhatu, if you want to derive a verb, you will have to go through the vikarana spices. Now these vikarana pratyayas determine to which college or to which gana they belong, a particular dhatu belongs. Then the majority and minority. What is this majority minority? This majority is adanta, or you can say those vikarana pratyayas which end with a or which make the dhatu end with a in the anga, they can be classified as majority. Okay, we'll discuss all of this in detail, but for now we are just giving a gist of all of this. So minority will be those which do not end with the hraswa a, the angas of which dhatus do not end with the hraswa a, akara, the swara a will be put under the minority groups. So these colleges are broadly 10, and of those 10 colleges, those 10 institutions, 4 of them belong to the majority and the 6 others belong to the minority. In fact, it's ironical that this is called majority, but why is it called majority? We'll see later. Akhyata. Now, Akhyata pratyayas are another set of pratyayas where lakara, vachana, purusha, the pit, apit, strong or weak forms of terminations are determined by these akhyata pratyayas. These akhyata pratyayas, they are added after vikarana pratyayas. So first of all, you add the masala powder, after which you're going to add the salt, right? So first the dhatu, these are the vegetables. Now you cut these vegetables, you see what color, which color, so you wash the vegetables, then you buy it from the market and see what its price was, what it tastes like, and all of that. After that, you subject it to processing with vikarana pratyayas, spices and condiments. You put all of that, and finally you add the salt. Okay, so even these akhyata pratyayas are also used only specifically to derive verbs, kriya padani, from dhatus. These are not to be used for deriving nama padas from dhatus. Okay, so if you only want to make a sambar, you'll have to go through vikarana and akhyata pratyayas. If you want to make a sweet out of let's say carrot, if you want to make carrot halwa, then you will have to go to sup pratyayas, which is another category of pratyayas and other category of sweets and condiments. Okay, so akhyata pratyayas, now these akhyata pratyayas again differ using these criteria. Lakara, which means the tenses and moods, past tense, present tense, future tense, imperative mood, subjunctive mood, or let's say the optative mood, aorist mood, etc. All of that will be lakara. Vachana will be the number, singular, dual, or plural. Okay. Then purusha. Purusha is the person. Prathama, Madhyama, and Uttama Purusha. Third, second, and first persons. Then strong. Strong or weak termination. This is special to Sanskrit, maybe to some other ancient languages like Greek or Latin, maybe. So, but these strong and weak terminations are heavily influencing the how kriya padas are formed. Okay, so these are very strong ingredients, strong and weak terminations. Now we'll see what these are later, but for now we have to just memorize this chart. Okay, so dhatu by its birth, by its virtue, has a certain padi, a certain ittva, karma, artha, and then and it can be referenced by a certain sankhya. What is the need for this sankhya? All of that we shall see in the coming videos. For now, this is just a general introduction to Tigantas. Tigantaha kim, action verbs, action words or verbs in different tenses and modes are included under Tiganta. So lakaras, what we say, lat lakara, lut lakara, late lakara, all of that. These lakaras in fact play another major role in deriving verbs. So if you want to say any action in a certain tense or a mood, you will have to come to Tiganta city. They are called so because these words end with pratyayas called thing, which denotes the tenses, person, cardinality, etc. So now anta, like subanta, you have anta, means which ends with thing, which is a set of pratyayas called thing. So it is called tiganta. So those words which end with the pratyayas which belongs to the category of thing are called tigantas. Then these pratyayas are joined to the dhatu to derive verbs. Okay, kriya padani. A sentence must contain at least one verb. Now this is we have seen in the varna series. In the last video we have seen that a sentence is defined as having one verb, one and only one verb. If you are sticking to actual grammatical rigorous rules, but at least one verb should be present in a sentence. It can be an adhyahara, or that is, you say in English, it is understood. These helping verbs, auxiliary verbs, all of those should be present. At least one of them should be present. These verbs are very essential and forms an integral part of a sentence. Okay. Sometimes the verb may not be apparent. That is called the adhyahara, understood, intended or suggested. Now these are very common in poems, yeah, padyani, kavyas, because maybe the chandas cannot handle one verb, so that adhyahara is to be understood. Adhyahara is that there's a presence like is, where all of these verbs are not explicitly mentioned in a sentence, but that does not mean it is not a sentence, because such words are put under adhyaharas, which are left to the skill of the reader to make out the meaning. All actions that a doer does is suggested to be used as tiganta, as a good habit. Now action words need not be necessarily conveyed through tigantas, but there are a few other ways of doing that through kritantas, like ktavatokta or syat pratyayas for the past, present and the future, or shatrisharash pratyayas, and some other convoluted means of conveying the same action word. But if you want to, now it is not suggested to use those paths. Okay, it is always suggested that you use tigantas itself for all verbs. Okay, but it is not the only way. You have to know that. Now these tigantas, these are the essentials of a dhatu. Now what are these essentials of a dhatu? First of all, a dhatu in a given dhatu patha, which is what is said to be written by Panini, contains almost 2000 roots, or what is it? These elements, these minerals that can be extracted to build upon many new words. Has the following inbuilt characteristics, which must be either referenced time and again, or recollected from conscious memory, or get familiarized and guess as one practices. So first of all, it is almost humanly impossible to remember all these 2000 words, because they are just abstract words. How can you remember padi, pathi, chatu, all of that? Now that would be quite difficult, I know, but through practice, maybe the most commonly used verbs and their dhatus can be memorized. But you can make a Guinness World Record by remembering all these 2000 words also. Now what is written in this dhatu patha? They are just dhatus, their sankhya and their artha. Okay, these are, when you see the dhatu patha, only this much is visible. I mean in the old dhatu patha. In the dhatu, what is a dhatu? The root element of most words in Sanskritam, using which along with pratyayas many closely related words can be formed. So these are like the minerals that you can use. For example, NaCl, KNO3, all of these minerals, using which you can make new articles. You can make new compounds and new articles. So these are the most elementary morphemes in a language. So these are dhatu. They have to be used along with pratyaya. So these are like also vegetables or cereals. They have to be processed. They have to undergo seasoning to get an edible form of food. Artha. Now artha means meaning. Says the meanings of the dhatu, which is any action or any existence or a particular phenomenon, characteristic, quality or method. So now artha, so the meaning of a certain morpheme, the root morpheme dhatu, can be either put as any action denoting. So it can say to jump, to fall, to eat, to visualize. All of that are actions. An existence, like to be, to function, to look beautiful. So all of that these are just existences, or a particular phenomenon, like to electrify. So that is a particular phenomenon which we see in nature, which we are going to incorporate into a dhatu. Characteristic, for example, to smell bad. So that is a characteristic or a quality. And then a method to you say rationalize. So that is a method. That is a particular algorithm or a sequence of events. So that can also be conveyed through the dhatu. All of these categories are conveyed through the meaning of a dhatu. Karmatva. Now this karmatva, we have seen that it can be akarma, sakarma or dvikarma. Dvikarma are very rare, but akarma and sakarma. Akarma meaning which is intransitive, and then sakarma is transitive. So that means which a verb, now this dhatu, after it becomes a verb in a sentence, will require the use of an object to complete its meaning. That is called a transitive verb. Then if it does not require any such verb, it is an intransitive verb. And so these verbs, since they have come from the dhatu by its genes, the transitive or intransitive nature of the verb is present in the dhatu itself by its genes. Okay, now we shall see all of this in great detail in the coming videos, but for now this is the gist. Okay, but you need not break your head over it if you are watching this video first. Padi, padam or padi. Now this is a syntactic tool used to derive verbs from the dhatus in a certain form. Now these are some Vayakaranas, some grammarians argue that these padis actually have a certain meaning. For example, Atmane Padi means those words which have whose actions are directed towards oneself, or the profit of whose actions are directed towards oneself, or Parasmai meaning to others. Ubhaya means it can be for any of them. Now that is just a, I would say, not a very convincing way of defining padis. I would just say if you see the Vedas or the other pre-Paninian literature, they use the padis interchangeably, even in the Mahabharata, Valmiki Ramayana, etc. The rigor is not set in. Okay, you say rigor mortis, right? So maybe Panini would have brought this rigor mortis into Samskrita language. I don't know. No, I'm not saying that he did, but I'm saying the definition of this padi, Atmane, Parasmai, is very convoluted, and it is not very convincing also. We shall see that again, why that is so. Then itvam is now itvam is again, it's just a glue for the dhatu to join in, combine with a pratyaya. It is just the glue in between, the middleman, to link the dhatu and the pratyaya. You need a glue. So that is in the form of E, the letter E. Okay, that can be used sometimes as the glue, and some dhatus will require that glue because they are non-adhesive. You see, so they require the glue. But some other dhatus are by self-adhesive, so they easily join with a pratyaya. They need not require the glue. That is, and those, whether it requires or not, is again self-born property. Okay, by birth it has come to a dhatu. Gana is again, as we have discussed, these institutions, 10 institutions into which these dhatus are put into which these dhatus are put based on the vikarana pratyayas. Now sankhya again is the serial number, the index number for referencing and accessing these dhatus out of these 2000 roots in the dhatu patha. Okay, now this is just a screenshot taken from astadhyayi.com. Now this is a very wonderful website, please visit that. I can't recommend it enough. Now you see this dhatu patha, you see a number, these numbers, and then these red things are the dhatus. Now these are dhatus as they have been, after they have undergone refinement. These are the actual dhatus that was written by Panini: Bhu, Edha, Spardha, Gadha, Badha, Nadha, Nathra, Dadha, Skadi, etc. And this was the meaning associated mostly by Panini or maybe by Bhatta or someone else. These are the meanings of those dhatus given. And I have to say at this point that these meanings are not really fixed. Although we would say that the orthodox, the traditional scholars would say, no, these are the only meanings of the dhatu. Depending on the context, I would say that the meanings can change and it can include other meanings also, depending on the context. Then you see this bhadi, all of this. Now that means it is the gana. Then you see padi, it means the pada, parasmaya, whether it is atmane, parasmaya or ubhaya. Then karmaka means again the karmatva, akarmaka, sakarmaka, all of that. Then it, if it is said or anit, that is known in the last comma, in the last criteria. Now this is the sankhya. So you see that all of these elements are incorporated into a dhatu patha. Okay. If you see the actual original Paninian dhatu patha, it is only this much. The number bhu sattayam, number edha vruddhav, number spardha sangharshe. Now these properties are derived based on how this spardha is referenced by using swaras. You see this is called udatta and udatta swara, and this anunasika Chandrabindur will represent the whether it is atmane or parasmay, and then the previous one will say if it is it, set or anit, and so on. And then based on the meaning you can find what the akarmaka or sakarmaka is, and by the number you can get to know which gana it belongs to. So 1 will be bhadi, 2 will be adadi, and so on. Okay, now this is a very detailed discussion and a very involved discussion. We will not go into the much of its detail how dhatu patha is derived, but for now this is just for you to get a feel of how the dhatu patha is. Please visit the website for more information. As was being discussed, so this is the sankhya, reference number, index number, then vrik, which is the actual dhatu, that is the dhatu, adane adane cha, that is the artha, bhvadi, adadi, kriyadi, tanadi, didi, adi means is the gana. Then atmane padi says the pada form. Now this pada does not mean word, okay? Please remember, I know this is you see degenerate, but unfortunately the Vyakarnas have used the word pada for atmane or parasmay or ubhaya, so we'll have to stick to that. Then sakarmaka means this is the karmatva, set means the itva. Okay, this is how every dhatu in the dhatu patha is enlisted. Now in the next video we shall see what the essential ingredients of the dhatu are, and we shall discuss it in further detail. Dhanyavada.